It's been quite a bit of time since Pokemon Legends Arceus came out. Got caught up in a little bit of Horizon Forbidden West and a little bit of Elden Ring, getting my ass handed to me a couple times, or a couple hundred times. But you know what, I'm going to go back and talk about this because I said that I was going to give a final thoughts and make a video on it, so here we are. And you know what, a lot of people from when the game first came out, I realized they finished this game in the first weekend, and my big question is, did they even enjoy it that way? Like, I get it, most Pokemon games are just cut and dry. You get to the Elite Four and you beat the game and that's it. That's literally the whole game. You can rush through it in a weekend. That's how most Pokemon games go. But this one for me has been a lot more different. I put in about 50 hours so far and I did end up finishing the story and even most of the post game. But the crazy part is that I'm not even finished the game because I have so much more to do. Like, I'm saying that you need to catch every single Pokemon. I haven't even done that. You have to complete the dex, you have to complete the side quests, which you don't really need to, but that's something that I like to do. And on top of that, you also have the shiny hunting, which I have yet to find even one shiny. Unless, of course, we're talking about the shinies that you can find from quests, which are basically guaranteed. I haven't found an actual one in the wild yet. And with all that stuff that I still have to do, I'm looking at least another 10 to 20 hours before I am truly satisfied. And I'll say the last Pokemon game that I put this much time in for was Sword and Shield, and honestly, the only reason I did that is because of the raid battles. I ended up loving those just as a way to waste time and also the chance of finding a shiny, which I did find in a good amount of Gigantamax shinies. It was actually pretty cool. But again, looking back at that game and fast forwarding to today, I really could not care less about doing those raid battles because again, it does get stale and you end up only doing it for the potential shinies, which after a while become really easy to get anyways. But with Arceus, there's a real end goal in sight, and even when I get to that end goal, it feels like I'm just unlocking even more with the new quests and tasks to do. Yeah, that's right, after the end credits roll and you feel that sense of accomplishment for beating the game, they dump even more onto you to lengthen your gameplay. And no, it's not all padding and bullshit filler, it's more of the exploration, the story, the lore, and more Pokemon to catch and fill out your decks. And the crazy thing is, I've seen both sides of the coin. I've seen people who wanted to finish this game's story before doing the side stuff, and even people who won't dare finish it until they check every single box possible. But regardless of how you tackle it, you will have a list of things you can do when everything is seemingly said and done. And the funny thing is that it's kind of crazy to think that a Pokemon game is now offering more open world content than even some of the biggest open world games. And yeah, that's right, Far Cry, I'm looking at you. Just because your maps are huge doesn't mean that your gameplay doesn't get old after 5 hours. But when I made my first impression, one of the things I talked about was how the game felt like it was limited because we couldn't jump, we couldn't climb mountains, and we couldn't glide, and well, after finishing the game, I'm clearly wrong about all those things. And yeah, sure, it's limited to the ride Pokemon, and some of them you don't even unlock until later on in the story, but it does change a lot of my concerns from before. Using Braviary not only to glide, but to literally traverse the entire map in order to find things, in order to go back and get to new destinations and old destinations too, makes things so much easier. And that's especially true in the post game when you're going to have to clean up the Pokedex and you're going to have to travel through these places a whole lot and backtrack, and Braviary alone just makes that so much easier. And using Sneasler makes it so much easier to climb mountains, even though people already found some glitches to climb without it. But now I can say for sure that the exploration is much better than what I first expected. And yeah, it's not even close to the exploration that I was expecting like in Breath of the Wild, but I can't really complain too much. Because the reality here is that this is the type of game that every Pokemon fan has wanted for years, and I'm so happy to see that the sales are already showing that to be true. And yeah, we can always nitpick and say that Game Freak still could have done better for a Switch game, especially after seeing that we're getting yet another Xenoblade Chronicles game that looks even even more beautiful than the others. But now, if anything, I'll take this as Game Freak's experiment with something fresh and give it the benefit of the doubt. Cause hey, I'm not too much of a graphics snob, so seeing how they at least changed the formula of the gameplay was more than enough for me. But I do bring up the question of whether or not they can go back to the original formula now though, because well, Arceus is just that damn good. And as much as I clowned that other review in my first impression saying that this is the first time that the series has evolved since Red and Blue, well, I gotta say that they're totally right about that. Even looking back at Sword and Shield, the way that a Pokemon game works has always been the exact same. No matter how much you want to remove the traditional gyms or add in some cheap gimmicks, it's still the same turn-based crap it's always been. And yeah, that even goes for you, Sun and Moon, because I know you don't have gyms, you don't have gym leaders, you have kahunas, but it's the same shit. But finally, I can say that Arceus has definitely screwed up that entire mentality for me. Instead of expecting that I'll always be able to choose a move before my opponent can attack, the game says, nah son, you can't do that. These Pokemon can destroy you before you even have a chance of making any options. And yeah, that even applies to regular trainer battles. And I was caught off guard a couple times because they don't offer you that option of switching out your Pokemon after your opponent's Pokemon faints. And yeah, sure, you can switch it out, but as soon as you do, you could be leaving yourself wide the fuck open to possibly get killed in one hit. This game turns up that difficulty more than any other Pokemon game recently. So much so that people might actually end up calling this the Dark Souls of Pokemon, which I don't think that they should, but hey. It's not even a bad thing because as they make it more difficult, they also open up a lot more options to choose from. Going into some of the tougher fights, the choice between agile attacks and strong attacks could literally decide the way the entire battle will play out. And I'm not even going to go into the spoiler territory, but one battle in the post game will absolutely have you needing to think about these things a bit harder. And I just love how different this game felt and how it basically reinvented the wheel for a series that so many of us have been playing all our lives. And I'd be lying if I said that I wouldn't be a little bit pissed if Game Freak didn't continue with this style going forward, because this is everything that the fans need. I prefer having that extra spice of difficulty, the exploration, and the side quests to make this whole RPG feel like it's filled with useful content. And one thing I can tell is that even though this game lacks the online battles that keep the community going for years, fans will not stop talking about this game and how much of a pleasant surprise it's been. And that may even be the same way that some people are now still hype over the original Breath of the Wild game. It's one of those games you'll get something out of even without playing the main story time and time again, and going forward I'm craving to see them expand this further. I'd say it'd be cool for Game Freak to add some DLC somewhere down the line, but at this point, who can really tell? It feels like a complete package as it is, and maybe that's exactly how it should stay. Especially because they are working on Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, which is coming out later this year, and I'm pretty sure that they'd rather put a lot of their effort into just making that game as best as it possibly can be than to go back and do some more stuff for Arceus, because hell, maybe it's going to be even better. Maybe it's going to be even more expansive than Arceus. Because one thing is for sure about Arceus, if this game was more along the lines of a full-blown Pokemon game and had the online battles and possibly bring back some raid battles, this shit would be amazing. And for some reason, every time I think about the next generation of Pokemon games and what we could see next, I always get brought back to that stupid, I don't even know if I can call it stupid, that Dokkev game or whatever it's called. I couldn't tell you exactly what the hell that game is about, but damn if it doesn't look fun. And just looking at how beautiful that looks and even some of the comparisons that people draw between that game and Pokemon, I'd say that maybe perhaps Game Freak should take some inspiration, if only just a little teensy bit. Because one thing will always remain a fact, and that is that the potential that Pokemon has as a franchise is almost limitless. And yeah, in the past I have talked about how Game Freak should step aside and let another developer make this open world game. Clearly they proved me wrong, but the facts are still clear that they have a ways to go if they plan on keeping people interested. And yeah, sure, they could keep this Arceus formula running for years and years, but eventually the same situation will come up where people just get bored of it again. Quality over quantity is what game development should be, but we all know that hasn't been the case for not only Pokemon, but many other franchises too. But for now, I can rest easy saying that what Pokemon Legends Arceus has given us is a taste of what we wanted for decades, and I am glad to have played it. So now the question is, what do you guys think? If you guys played the game, tell me what your thoughts are in the comment section down below. Or if you haven't played the game, are you at least interested in any of the changes you've seen so far with the game? That is about it for now, so subscribe for more videos just like this one, and I will see you guys next time.